My third time trying to record this episode. I have just been having such a hard time putting into words all of the experiences and challenges that I faced once I got to California because there were so many and there were so many different ones, right? That I like I said, this is my third time attempting to record this. And I don't really make notes of my episodes. I have an idea of like the way I kind of envision an episode to flow, but this has been a really hard episode for me to record. So I know that this is my third time recording this episode, and I feel like each theme of the things that I faced moving out here are meant to be their own episodes because I learned so much through all of them. But the main things that I want to say about moving here and arriving to San Diego is that it was not a pleasant experience. It was not light, it was not warm, it was not fuzzy, it was not flowery and sunshiny and any of that. It was extremely dark, extremely painful, devastating, heartbreaking, grief, overwhelm, depression, nervous system collapsing, going flat broke. It was so hard. This was why I couldn't record for so long. Still processing it in a lot of ways. I think the biggest things that made this move so incredibly difficult is that moving across the country and especially like not having a job lined up, not having this, not having that. Like I was in my most vulnerable state I've ever been in my life because I don't have family and friends here to just pick me up off the ground. And, like I'm here by myself with Louis, just like, okay, we're here and nothing's working out. So I was in a very, very vulnerable place. And nothing could have prepared me for the heartbreak that I did not know I was going to experience and face once I moved here. I've shared about that relationship of mine already on this season. I did not know things were going to play out the way that they did. And it was unbelievably devastating. I was in a very vulnerable place in my life when I moved here, and I really needed support, right? I just needed someone to be there for me. And we all need people, right? I think we live in a world that can be sometimes too detached when we all need people. We need people to be there for us. We need community. We need support. We need friendship. We need love. We need connection. We're wired for it. And so, as I'm going through the most vulnerable period of my life, I really just needed someone to be there for me, to help me, to show me around, to just be a friend, right? To be there for me, to be someone I could lean on a little bit. I completely thought that that person was going to be that person for me when I got here. And it's not what happened at all. And it was devastating to me. Like I could not have ever prepared for the pain and the heartbreak and the pain and the hurt that I was going to experience from that person once I moved here. And it's something that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I just would never wish anyone going through one of the most scary, vulnerable, overwhelming, challenging experiences of their life, uprooting themselves, moving, all these unknowns, all this change, all this grief, all this fear. And then the person that you trusted, loved, that you had a deep friendship with, that you cared about, that you were clearly very much in connection with, was going to show a different side of themselves once you got there. It was jarring, it was devastating, it was really sad. And I will dive more into things. There's going to be, like I said, a lot of relationship talk on this season. I have a lot to share that I hope others can relate to. Um, but it was really, really hard. I cried so damn much about that person and what I was experiencing. I just could never have prepared for it. I never expected it. Um, it was just so sad, so hurtful. And it really knocked me down. I was already feeling very lost. I was struggling to know who I was moving out here. I felt like, what did I know my purpose anymore as a person? I had lost all these parts of my identity, like letting them go in the process of moving here, right? Letting so many of my hats go, letting so many things that I tied to myself and to my identity and who I was, losing those things, right? Letting them go, shedding them. Feeling just so lost in myself, and everything that happened with this person wreaked havoc on my self-esteem. It wreaked havoc on my self-worth. I never had felt so low, so abandoned, um, so small. Like I felt small. I felt so tiny in like just such a sad, negative way. And as I'm sharing this, where other episodes will go into in this season is that part of what was happening, right, is the way this person was treating me and not showing up for me and on all this stuff, right? It was unearthing a lot of unprocessed things within me from my journey as a person, right? My trauma, my past relationships, patterns, all this stuff, right? So as I'm already just drowning emotionally coming out here across to California, across the country, and trying to figure out why the hell I even listened to my intuition to come here, I was then being smacked in the face with all this unexpected grief, heartbreak, betrayal, just all this stuff. And then it's bringing up all these wounds, and I'm just feeling so low about myself, so bad about myself. And I was also broke. There was a ton of shame around the fact that I was living off my savings. I had no income coming in. I couldn't get a job for the life of me. Like nothing was working out. And so I remember this one day being on the phone with my mom the first few months I was out here, and I was so sad. I just needed somebody. I just needed someone to be there for me. Like I needed a hug. I didn't have that here, right? I didn't have community. I didn't have those things here. The one person I had wasn't showing up for me at all. And I just had never felt so alone. I felt so alone. And I remember talking to my mom crying one day on the phone saying, I wish that I could just get on a flight and come home. How alone I felt, how sad I was, how I needed a hug, how I was so broken. And like I couldn't even afford to get on a flight and go home, right? Like I'm living off savings that was running out. So as all of this pain and all this is happening, I was still showing up in my life out here. I was still forcing myself to join things, go to things, put yourself out there, try things, plant seeds. I had nothing to give, but I was still going. And this is something that I look back and I'm so blown away by my resilience and this deep, truly self-rootedness, right? That I didn't think I had at that time because I was drowning and so lost, but I clearly did have it because I was showing up. But I was just showing up and believing in myself, even when behind closed doors, I felt like I had nothing to show. I was like, I'm drowning, I'm broke, I'm heartbroken, I'm like, I don't even know who I am. I have nothing to show. I don't have a job. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Like all these things, right? And then still having to show up in rooms and be like, hi, I'm Izzy. This is what I can do for you. Hi, I'm Izzy. I deserve to be in this room. Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm gonna rock the shit out of this runway, even though I can't even pay my bills and I cry every day right now. Like, it was such an insane duality experience of carrying this overwhelming grief, pain, lost, insecure, like, who am I? Just so much grief. Really, the episode should just be called like grief. So much grief. And then simultaneously being like, oh my God, this opportunity is coming my way. Oh, I got an interview with this person. Oh, I got this. Oh, I have to go to this. Oh, I need to try this. I need to plant the seeds. I need to have the conversations. I need to be visible. I need to be seen. That's what is so remarkable looking back on the last year is that I was letting myself be seen despite the fact that I was carrying so much shame and sadness and like such little self-worth in so many ways, especially because like I said, what happened with this guy here, it wreaked havoc on how I felt about myself. I had really lost myself in that relationship. So it was a crazy duality experience, having certain things show up where it's like, go rock a runway, be that bitch, while I'm at home being like, I I'm I'm nothing, I don't add value to anyone's lives. No one's showing up for me. I'm broke. I'm this, like just such low self-talk. I'm a loser. I don't deserve to be happy. I, all this stuff, right? And then having certain things be like, show up. You gonna take up space today? Because you better. Took a tremendous amount of resilience and courage and self-belief, even though I didn't think I really had it, I did, but I was forgetting that I had it. God, one of the other most difficult things which I've shed light on already in this episode is going broke. That was devastating and a very confronting time, and that brought forth a ton of shame. I was like, I had a good career. How have I already gone through my savings? Da 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 da. Like just all the negative self-talk. How are you? And again, I don't even need to justify it, but it was the most expensive year of my life because of getting laid off, moving across the country, tons of health issue. Like there was all these reasons why it was an incredibly expensive year. So when I got here and I could not get a job, it's like nothing was working out. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur. That's what I'm going to do. I can enroll a bunch of clients. I'll launch a new business program. I'll do the Body Love Soul method again, all this stuff. But the reality is that as much as I wanted to do that, I didn't have capacity for it. My nervous system was at a zero. I mean, I was not even sleeping at night. I was not sleeping. I was like having panic attacks in the middle of the night. How am I going to pay my bills tomorrow? And then I'd go online. How can I make quick money? Literally, where can I donate blood to make money? Online surveys to make money. Like desperate times, you guys. I was waitlisted to be an Instacart person. I was nervous to even do Uber because my car needed work. I didn't have money to even fix my car, so I couldn't even use my car for things like that. I was debating stripping. I have no judgment against strippers. Like, honestly, nothing. But like, that's where I was at. Like, I was just like, I'm fucked. And I felt so low about myself. That's the point. I felt like such shit about myself. You're such a loser, right? Like, that was like such a, like, just so mean to myself? I was in such a deeply vulnerable place, so low. And with everything going on with the money and being broke and not being able to get any income coming in, I mean, I was having to go like, the thing is, people didn't know me here yet, right? In Boston, it'd be one thing to go interview at a gym and say, I've been a trainer in Boston for 10 years. Okay, great. And I have a client base here. I have this, I have that, right? I didn't have any of those things here. So even interviewing at a job, which I did end up teaching fitness classes for a couple months, it was crazy to think I was back to the 5 a.m. wake ups, teaching some fitness classes, making significantly less than I had made as a trainer out in Boston. And I was just like, no one knows me here. Like, I have to show that I'm talented. I have to show my experience, right? I have to prove my worth and my value here. And it just was such a confronting, trying time of like starting all over again, having nothing. Nobody knows you. You have to start all over again and again and again. And one of the hardest moments for me was I had no idea how I was going to pay my rent. I had to like finance my rent one month. I mean, it was bad. I had no idea I was going to pay my rent. There was a couple months that was really like, are we going to be homeless, Louis and I? I don't know. My concern was keeping a roof over my head and feeding my dog. And I was so broke and so desperate, and I ended up qualifying to have an EBT debit card, which is that the state of California has resources where basically, if you're making no income, right, you get a small allowance each month that goes towards groceries. And I was like so grateful that this was a resource that was had out here, but I couldn't believe that I was someone that had to even utilize it. I had had a 10-year career in Boston in corporate America. I had been a personal trainer a long time. Like I had all these things, permanent jewelry, all these side hustles and full-time work. I'm like, how am I here? How am I here? So the shame, it was just so overwhelming. And I was carrying so much excess shame because of everything that had happened in that relationship here as well. So I applied for the EBT debit card. They say they're going to send it in the mail. I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling shameful. How am I here? I can't believe this. I'm judging myself. So I fill out all the stuff for the EBT debit card and it never comes in the mail. I'm panicking because I'm like, where is this EBT debit card? I need to buy groceries. It's been 2 weeks. Panicking. So I call them. I'm like, I never received the card. They're like, oh, that's so strange. We could send it. It might take another like 7 days or whatever the time frame was. Or you could just go to one of our locations to pick it up. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So the next morning, I'm like getting ready to go to pick it up, and I'm having so much anxiety and so much shame. I'm like, how did I land here? How did I land here? Why did I even come here? I'm at the point, this is the point in time in California in my journey when I was out here that a lot of people back home in Boston were like, I don't think it's working out for you out there. I don't think it's working out. I think it's time you come back home. Like, how much longer are you going to give yourself suffering before you come back? And I'm having all this like defeat, like just all this defeat. I'm driving to pick up my EBT debit card. I pull up to one of the locations where you can pick the cards up. And I had so many thoughts at that time all at once because I could tell that people were judging me based off of what I looked like and just sort of how I was put together picking up this card. And I was feeling an overwhelming amount of shame that I was there because of, again, how people are perceiving me, right? Like, I look like I have my shit together. How am I here? And I was in line with a lot of individuals that were homeless, right? That were leading very different lives than I had led. And I don't say that from a place of judgment. I say that from truth that like there was people in that line that I never thought I'd be standing in line next to get an EBT debit card. And as shameful as I felt about myself in that moment, I also remember sitting there thinking after this is after I was sitting in the car thinking, I'm carrying all this like this shame. Like, how can I, as Izzy, this queen, this bad bitch, this woman that's had an incredible career, all this stuff be here? Like, what, how? How are you here? And being so mean to myself. But at the same time, being in line with these individuals and saying to myself, there's so little that truly separates us from one another. And that gets lost in the world we live in, right? I don't think I'm better than anybody, literally at all. Many people do think they are, right? Better than other people or this, that, and the other. And here's the thing. We all lead different lives, different backgrounds, right? There's many factors to what I'm trying to articulate, but the point is that I remember sitting in my car after and being like, this was also a humbling moment for me because what separates us is basically nothing, right? I'm here needing the same resources as this person. We are no different in that way. Just just because we're dressed very differently, we look very differently, we live in very different homes, like we're both here. And that was something that was really beautiful that I've been reminded of so many times in my life, right? But a long time ago when my brother is sober, he's been in recovery for a long time. When he first got sober, I used to go to NA meetings with him all the time. And something that I thought was just so beautiful and powerful for someone like myself to come and see and experience and witness in these NA meetings was people of all backgrounds there, all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds. And guess what? All with the same thing, right? They're all there for the same reason, all with being in a recovery journey, all with struggling with drug addiction. What separated them was so little, right? Even though they led very different lives, they were in that same place. And that's what's so beautiful about healing circles and all these incredible community experiences that I've led, that I've been a part of, that you see in the world, right? It truly shows us that so little separates us, that we're really so much more similar than we are different. So I had this really like duality experience of like this overwhelming shame of like, how am I here? How did I get here? I should have been leading my, been leading my life differently. This was a mistake. I'm such a loser. How are you this broke? All this stuff. And then at the same time, being in line with these other individuals and saying to myself, I'm no better than this person. They're no better than I am. What separates us is so little. And allowing myself to really learn from that experience, right? So I'm heartbroken, I'm grieving, I'm broke, I'm lost, and all of the identities to which I associated with as Izzy were not present here. So it really, if I feel like if I were to think of just like a visual of describing all of this, it is a person on their hands and knees on the floor crying, saying, "Who am I?" That's what I did most of the days, like every single day that happened. Every single day, the first 6 months out here, that was happening for me. Something that I say to all of my incredible community members and friends out here in California now is I say to them, you have no idea how meaningful it was for me and the ways to which you were showing up for me when we first met, when once I moved out here and, was making friends and whatnot, because I said, no one knew truly what I was going through behind closed doors. No one actually could truly understand and know how broken, beat up, defeated, heartbroken, feeling worthless, feeling lost, just feeling awful. Nothing's going right. Total survival mode. Body is a wreck. Like these people were picking me up and lifting me up so much more than they knew, right? At that time. It was a very confronting time. And all the while, I'm going to share this on another episode, like really dive into this experience. But all the while, I was also going through breathwork teacher training, which I had signed up for months and months and months prior. And I had no idea what to expect in that teacher training. And the fact that I went through that teacher training during one of the hardest times of my whole life, if not the hardest period of my life, probably truly the hardest period of my life, that I would have never known that I would go through a teacher training in such despair, right? In such sorrow and such grief and so much loss and so much pain. I met myself on my bolster 99% of the time just in waterworks of tears, lost, sobbing, crying, broken, grieving. Who am I? So the first 8 months out here were really hard. If I were to high level, capture it, it was heartbreak, grief, flat broke, survival mode, trying to find community, planting a million seeds, hoping something would stick. And none of it was until it was. And none of it really started shifting for me until around the 6 month mark. When I finally got a full-time job, which mind you, for a long time I was like, no, I don't want to do that. No, no, no. And ultimately this ended up being something that was really aligned and made sense for me, and I'm super grateful for it. I Until that first paycheck came in, I felt like I couldn't even exhale. I mean, it was just 6 months of straight not exhaling, anxiety, crying, lost, heartbroken, devastated, just beside myself. So, where does that leave us now? I've been in California for a year, and there's many lessons and learnings and wisdom and things I will be sharing throughout this season from this journey. But if I were to look back on the first, especially 6 months out here, and what I was going through and what I feel it was teaching me and what I can look back on now is, wow, I'm resilient. Wow, I'm courageous. I cannot believe how rooted I was in and just and knowing that I was meant to be out here despite nothing working out and continuing to not work out. And I really, really, really believe that it was so much of like a crash course in self-belief and worthiness, and like just knowing that just existing as Izzy was enough, right? Just and also actually it was the most vulnerable period of my life, so it felt like a crash course in asking for help and asking for support, which, as many people know me personally or have worked with me or have followed me for a long time, know that I truly help others basically for a living in all the things I do, right? And for me to ask for that is very hard. And a lot of people that are givers and helpers and you'll often find that it's hard for them, right? I was forced into a season of my life that I had to ask, right? And to let myself receive. And that was really, really hard for me. I was receiving essentially from strangers, right? Like when a new friend would treat me to a coffee, they had no idea what they were actually doing for me in that moment. Like there was so many moments of just like receiving. Like even the modeling stuff, like I said, letting myself be seen and be visible and receiving that, even though there was a big part of me that was like, I don't feel worthy, but I need to fight through this and challenge that belief despite everything behind closed doors being a hot, ugly mess right now and being really painful. And so having to say, I as Izzy am enough, and to really get to know myself without any of the hats, any of the parts of me, right? I didn't have any of those parts of those, like you're a personal trainer, the president of the Soul Project, the this, the that, I very much identified with all those parts of me and being multi-hyphenate, which I still to this day do. But the point is, when I was stripped down from those things, I felt like I was in my rawest form because I really had to be with Izzy, like fully with me. And to be going through that while being confronted and mirrored and experiencing horrific heartbreak, deeply painful betrayal and many other things, that was also unearthing like why I was still staying there, why I was still choosing this person, right? Why was I still reaching? Like all these things, which is tying back to like all my childhood trauma and all my past relationship traumas. This is all happening at once in a new place where I don't know where anything is, where I'm having to use all this energy just to like get by each day, wondering if I'm even going to be able to buy food to feed for myself, to keep a roof over my head, while no opportunities were working out for the first at least 6 months. It was so hard. It was so challenging. And I look at it today and I'm still picking up the pieces. I am still catching up. And I still have days that I'm hard on myself for the fact that I am still catching up, that I am still financially catching up, right, from a hard year, that I am still emotionally catching up, that my body is still catching up, right? I still have a lot of days I'm hard on myself about that. And I have to remind myself and level with myself that, Izzy, please remember what was actually happening because you were down here. You were at the bottom of the ocean drowning. And now you're up here starting to swim. Okay? That's a big shift. It's a big shift. And you created that shift. You did that. You showed up. You kept knocking on doors despite the fact that you didn't feel worthy. You kept showing up. I mean, I had no choice. This is why I say this whole experience coming out here felt like a crash course in like self-belief, worthiness, choosing yourself, showing up anyways, all this stuff because I had no other choice. It was truly sink or fucking swim. And I'm like, I need to learn how to swim. I have to swim. I don't have any choice. I literally have no oxygen, but I still need to find a way to swim, right? I'm still processing it. And so I wanted to share this episode because now I feel like I can really dive into everything else. But there was no way to dive into the rest of the season without giving context to how confronting, hard, challenging, devastating, all the things that it was transitioning out to California and that journey of coming here. It was really, really hard. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited to be back. I'm excited to be recording like this. I'm just, I'm excited to be here. I'm pushing through a lot of fear to be back on the mic. And I'm excited to just share really openly, really authentically so much that's come out of this journey, so much that's come out of the last year and a half. There's just, there's a lot to share, and there's been a lot of things that I have felt fearful around sharing. And I know that that's an invitation to share and to do it and to the less that we hide behind that shame, right? And the fear and those things, the less weight it holds over us. And the more of a beautiful journey it becomes of alchemy and and that's what I'm trying to do here. And so it is actually hard to be back on the mic in a lot of ways, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to use my voice again. And I'm just so grateful to you being on along for the ride and a part of this journey. So stay tuned for the next episode because it's going to be a good one.